So you know, I'm around the table, things need to be discussed. Of course they do. JD in the duffel bag up front, Chuckie online. I have Craig Mitch, TV presenter. You already know, come on, you already know. Chelcee GRIMES, footballer, presenter, songwriter, everything. She does everything. There's a lot to discuss and we need to discuss it, yeah? JD in the duffel bag up front, Chuckie online. Gang, what's happening? Everyone good? We're recording in the morning.
Yeah.
But, you know, how's everyone doing? Everyone all right?
I'm good, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I like your energy, so I'm like...
Isn't it?
Is it, yeah?
You lifted me, bro. I was feeling a bit like, well, you've lifted me up.
Do you know
definitely.
what? As soon as you put the microphone in front of me, yeah, and it's time to start having a conversation, then you know me, I'm fully in.
That's your bag.
That's my bag.
That is your bag.
But you know what? I'm looking forward to today because obviously I consider you a friend. You're someone that like I have a lot of respect for. I had never met before, so I'm very curious to get to know you and understand you and stuff. I've seen you a lot around and whatnot. I want to deep dive into a little bit of just you as a person. I love a deep convo. But before we do that, there's something that I feel like we will all sort of appreciate, yeah? Right? And it's something I saw you tweet, and I didn't know. But Katy Perry, Teenage Dream, is 10 years old.
Wow.
Yo, can we have a quick conversation about that?
What?
Because it's an
a classic.
absolute smash
It's a classic.
hit.
Mate, I
The
think
whole
she had
album.
five number ones off that album. I think it was like, yeah, it broke a record at the time. Because
Oh
it was just
my
like
God.
Firework, Teenage Dream,
California
California
Girls.
Girls. There was just bang, 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 all off the same album, which hasn't been done for a very long time.
Did she write Teenage Dream?
It was Max
Co-wrote.
Martin. Yeah, she co-wrote. She
Okay.
co-wrote everything, but Max Martin's like the
Yeah, he's the guy.
He's the guy.
Absolute
he's the
stinger, that song. Yeah. Honestly, I used to be one of those people that listened to that song, and you know, like from ends, you thought you don't want to say it with chest.
Yeah,
you'd be
yeah,
like,
yeah,
why did
exactly.
you like? It was kind of like when you liked Spice Girls or S Club
Yeah,
7.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of
But then
that
she
guilty.
did sprinkle a bit of Snoop Dogg on there,
Yeah,
you
of
know,
course.
so it made it.
But you know what though? I feel like around that time, because I started to proper like California Girls, yeah. It was like I started to embrace the fact that like it's cool to have a guilty pleasure and indulge in it.
Yeah.
Like don't just like kinda like it and try to do the whole thing of like I can't really say around the man them or whatnot.
Yeah.
No. If it's a banger, it's an absolute banger.
And the thing is, if you feel it, like you genuinely feel that music or something about that song connects with you,
Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
fake it.
It's mad how music can make you literally, it can either make you dip because sometimes you might listen to a song or whatnot and it might make you, you know, remind you of a moment that's quite like a sad time in your life or whatever. Or you can listen to a song that takes you from being low all the way up.
And that's
it could
one
be
of
the
them
guilty
songs.
pleasure. It's
Yeah.
100%.
Teenage Dream is definitely one of them
It's
feel-good
like one
songs.
of those memes though, like sometimes it's like, oh, just let me play that sad song again because it didn't hit me in the feels like the first time. Like I'll be like, oh, still sad. I'm like, one more time for the heart. But yeah, that Teenage Dream, like, ding, 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 ding. When that comes in, I'm like, oh, it's just amazing. That's one of my songs when everyone says in an interview, what are one of the songs you wish you wrote or was around, and that Teenage Dream is just royalty pop music. Oh.
It's a real thing actually that
So
she just
good.
mentioned that, you know like when you're like, there's a song that makes you feel a little bit sad or whatever, and then like you just want to hear it again. You just want to just like,
Do you know what
yeah,
song that is for me?
you just want to swim in it. You want to swim in
Do you know
that
what song that is
sadness.
for me? Usher, You Got It Bad.
Oh really?
That song there, like, it's such a ballad. Like, it just connects. Seeing him, even the video, him dancing in the rain, like, you can feel the pain. Like, he wants Chili back.
Yeah.
Like, you could feel it. And
But
that's just one of them
can
songs.
Can you connect to it on a life one though, in like in a moment of like maybe something that was going on in your life around that time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first heartbreak.
Oh.
I'm not getting into the first heartbreak
I can't lie.
now.
I love them conversations. Please go on.
The
quick.
first heartbreak.
Go on quickly.
Alright, so basically, right. So it was a girl called Stacey. Shout out to Stacey. I'm putting names out there.
Oh, go on.
But she's moved, like, apparently she lives in like Ireland now, like,
Yeah.
and has like 5 kids or something, right?
Wow.
But she was a girl that grew up on my estate, and she moved to my estate after I moved to my estate. And it was one of those things where if you live on an estate, it's like your own little world. Like, you play out. It's not kind of how like a road is, because on a road it's a bit more exposed and you can maybe wander off your road and go into, I don't know, like a high street or something. But when you grow up on an estate, anyone that's grown up on an estate knows you're kind of like caged in. It's your world. So playing out every day, you would always see these people. And I remember just when Stacey first moved in, she had a brother called Michael, her younger brother. Me and him became close. We shared a love for wrestling. And I find myself like chilling around his house. And then I would see her and I was just on her. But I just remembered like it just never connected. And I think maybe it's because like I was so close with her brother.
Yeah.
And I was younger than her as well. But she just didn't dig me like that. Like it never happened. Like we never really got into it. Like, and I remember her moving. They ended up moving from my estate. Like, so they were only there for like 3 years. And in that whole 3 years, I was like infatuated. It was the first person I really liked. Yeah. And then they just left. And I remember just being like crushed. Like, I never got her. Like, I never actually fulfilled this. Like, she just left the estate, man.
Did you ever have abandonment issues after that?
Abandonment issues? Nah, I wouldn't
just
go
cute, Usher, you got it.
But yeah, that was the same time. This is like 2001, 2. These are around the time she left my estate. So and I remember playing that song at the time. That song was big, always being played on the box.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kiss.
Oh,
all of them channels.
Yeah, the box.
Remember that?
Old school.
Big
the box. Kiss.
Big throwback. You know what? For the young bucks who don't know what the box is, explain.
Well, nowadays they think the box is that club in Soho.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the box. The box we grew up on, it was like a music station.
Yeah, and you
could text or call in. That's how they made their breads. They finessed you in that way, and it would be like something like £2 to request a video.
I'll run up big phone bills.
I swear.
What?
You used to
Big
request
phone
videos?
bills? What? All the time. I was like Sir Mix-a-Lot. But before we get into all of that quickly, because you can't escape this first heartbreak, go.
First heartbreak. I don't know. I always get asked this question. I feel like I had a boyfriend when I was like 16 and he played for Liverpool. I played for Liverpool. I started going out. Like I was a really good kid. Actually didn't really go out. Didn't have many brothers or sisters. Well, I didn't have any. Not many. I didn't have any until I was 16 and then my mum had a baby. So I grew up only child. And then I started going out with some girls from school and then the boys would start going out with us and all that. And yeah, I met this guy or whatever, and I was like the new one in the crowd, so all the lads would be like, who's this new one? Do you know what I mean?
Hey, we always loved the new girl that just came on the scene.
It was like, who's this new one? And anyway, yeah, we started dating or whatever, and he was a rapper back then, so I never sang. I was just into football, but he played football too, and he had a little home setup, so he was like, the only reason I kind of got into music was because of him, because he was like, oh, can you just sing this BV? And I was like, all right. He was like, I need a girl's voice. And then I started singing and I started enjoying it and then doing my own music. And I remember this day, so like the popular girl in the clique was like, she hated me because I started getting a bit of attention because I was the new kid on the block. And then literally one night, I remember it clearly, I was staying in my grandparents' house. And he called me and he was like, I'm having a few of the lads around tonight and a few of the girls. And I was like, all right. I remember literally saying, don't do anything like I wouldn't do or something. I was only like young and naive. And my PlayStation was still in his house. I remember that clearly. Went into school the next day and the main girl come over to the table. I was sat there with my mate and she was like, by the way, your boyfriend got with blah, blah, someone last night. And I just remember my heart sank. I was in front of everyone. My heart sank and I went to the toilet because you wasn't allowed your phone at school. Text him. I was like, can't believe. And he like denied it. And I was like, I'm coming to get my PlayStation tonight. I remember getting the bus all the way there. I got the 75 from outside to school to his house. And he was like, still denying it to this day. Anyway, that was it. Heartbroken.
To this day, he still denies it?
No. Then 2 years later, I got this big message and he was like, I still think about you all the time and all that. And that's when I started doing well and I was like playing and my picture was out in town and all that. And I was like, mate, I hope that night was worth it.
You know what? He started to see there was a little bit of success in that happening and realised that he was moving a little bit.
But it was a lesson learned, you know what I mean? It's like he didn't deserve it anyway. But yeah, I remember that, my first heart-sinking moment in front of everyone. It was like something from Mean Girls,
when
mate.
the heart goes into the big toe, boy, it's nuts.
It was one of them.
It's bad when it's spilled tea as well. When someone spills the tea,
but it was almost like all planned. Like that's why it was annoying because I knew already like that was going to happen because like I said, a few of the girls were just out for me anyway. So I was just like, could you be so stupid? Like, but anyway, it was one of them. Yeah, I took the bait.
He took the bait.
Let's stay on you a little bit then. Actually, you're from, I would say, probably, I have to say it's my favourite city in England now. Like I love Liverpool. I don't support Liverpool, but I love Liverpool. I've had so much good times there. I spend a lot of time there and stuff like that as well. And like, you know, I've got friends there and stuff. Yeah. But I feel like there's something about Liverpool that is actually quite special. Tell me just, you know, a little bit about, you know, yourself growing up there from, let's say, from the age of around 10. Paint that environment for me. What was that like for you?
So back then, it was just me and my mum. Like, it was a kind of weird one because all my family, like I grew up with, like I said, didn't have any brothers or sisters. My dad passed away when I was a kid, like 5. So that's where like my mum's like ginger, white, like freckly, and I was always like, people used to say to me one more time, oh, like, is she adopted or something? And I was just like, well, that's weird, but I didn't really grasp it. But all my family I grew up with was like, my white side of my family or whatever. Like, my granddad would take me to football. Yeah, I was playing for Liverpool then. I had something that I loved, you know.
Even at that age there?
Yeah, wow. Yeah. I signed for Liverpool when I was 9. And then that was just when I started feeling like I've got something, because I never really fitted in. I had a bit of social anxiety. I still have that now. But like when I found a group of girls and we were playing football and I'd go training and I'd look forward to football every weekend, it was just something that it did make me like, I don't know, I think everyone needs that, you know, whether whatever it is, whether like you saying wrestling or just something as a kid, or music or painting or drawing. My thing was football and I was just obsessed with it. And then it wasn't until, like I said, 15, 16, started getting into a bit of music. And then, yeah, just Liverpool, it was just like, I don't know, I just miss it. There's no other city like it. I get to travel a lot now for music and for work or whatever it is, but when I go home, it's just that I'm home, you know, and the people and just everything about it.
Yeah. See the fitting in side of things though. Did you see when you was young, was you like asking questions about like why maybe you felt the way that you did? Like, did you ever have conversations with your parents about, well, your mum?
Yeah, well, it was always weird. Like I said, I didn't really talk that much. I was quite like, just me and my mum were best friends, and I kind of just, I done everything for my mum really. It was like just me and her, you know, like, I don't know. Me and my mum just done everything together. We were just super close. Like, I mean, maybe I was doing things at like 9 or 10, or I might have seen things at that age that I might maybe not should have at that age. Like,
in what sense?
Just in like, I don't know. It was just my fam. I didn't really ever have like a father figure ever. It was, and I always missed that. And then it'd be like, my mum was doing so much to just keep me going that like I'd be late for school, or like sometimes it was like, you know, that kid who like on own clothes day, and then I'd go in on my uniform because my mum had forgot, or like, I was like that kid, or like she'd forget it was half a day and I'd be sat there. And
that's kind of funny still when everyone comes in, everyone's in their garms and that.
Oh, I'd turn up and I'd be like, I was that kid sometimes. But you know, it was just one of them. My mum was like doing like working like flat out because it was just me and her or whatever. But yeah, I think I was just angry that like I didn't have a family like tight knit. Still to this day, I actually done a therapy session like 3 years ago because I was just miserable and something was just still like annoying me, and I didn't know what it was, whether it was that or whether it was just because like I was in London, I was miserable. Even though I had my dream job, like everyone was like would message me and be like, oh my god, you're a songwriter, like but I was just like existing. I wasn't really enjoying life.
The thing is, even though you could be doing your dream job and stuff like that, but sometimes there can just be there moments where you feel like something feels missing. I don't know what it is, but something just feels missing. Do you know what I mean?
No, I think that was for me. I think I just brushed it under the carpet, like, oh well, bad things happen like all the time, like, oh well, I haven't got a dad, whatever. Like,
did that play a role in you playing football at that age, or was you actually inspired by young girls that were playing football yourself? Because for me, I mean, there was always girls like in and around my circle that like kind of would jump in and play football and stuff like that. But, you know, it was always very male dominated. Yeah. So for you, like, what sort of gravitated you to football even at that young age? Do you feel like subconsciously it might have played a part, or was you just inspired by?
No, I think I didn't have any brothers or sisters. When I play out, like Mitch was saying, like you go out and you play out as a kid, there was only boys in my street. It was either stay in and do homework and be sat on my own in my room, or go out and just play with the boys, and the only thing they wanted to play was football. And then I got really good at it quickly, and I was better than them, and then I like that I was good at something. That's my thing, you know. I hate stuff that I'm not good at first time. I hate golf. I'm terrible at golf. Like, I just hate stuff that I'm not good at instantly. And football, for me, I picked it up really fast. And then it was something that I loved. And then, you know, being like 10 or 11 and being able to just have a ball and start doing keepy-uppies and make people go, look at it. Like, I was like, it was I don't know if it was attention that I might have not got, or I don't know what it was, but it made me feel good. So I ran with that.
Fully hear you.
Yeah.
Mitch, my guy, boy.
Yes.
The Tottenham side of London, that north side of the, you know what I mean? That's where you're from.
Yeah.
we've actually never had a conversation personally about like just your experience growing up around there. Like maybe sometimes like on my pod and that we kind of go in and out of like a little bit of conversation and environment or whatever. But like I want you as well to kind of paint your picture as well, like, you know, your environment, what it was like for you growing up in North London, Tottenham, historical place in London at a young age.
Well, it was mad for me because the first 5 years of my life I spent in Tottenham. So I was born on, well, I grew up on somewhere called Bourne's Estate, which is like N15. So for anyone that don't know, Tottenham has two postcodes. There's N17 and there's N15. So N15 is kind of classed as South Tottenham. So I grew up around there. And then when I was 5, my mum and dad broke up and she moved to Wood Green. So then we moved to Wood Green. But anyone that knows, there's kind of politics between the areas there. So Wood Green and Tottenham have had like a long-standing rivalry for years. And yeah, for me, man, like growing up in Wood Green, that's obviously where I grew up until I was about, I left there a couple of years ago. But I think that's where I was really formed. Obviously, my early years is just, you're just a kid, innit? You're like 4 or 5. You don't really remember tough.
Yeah, it's different. It's
so growing up in Wood Green, but it's all kind of the same area, Haringey. It was good, man. Like growing up on an estate, I always look back on it. When I was young, I used to kind of resent my parents for being on an estate in a sense. Like I used to be like, oh, why haven't we got more money or why are we here? Like I used to go to school and kind of be embarrassed that I lived on an estate. Like, but then I look back on it now as an adult and I'm like, it produced some of the most, you know, the best parts of my life. The kind of friendships I made, I don't know if I would have had them growing up in an estate. Like the things it taught me, we had like a youth club on my estate, a community centre. So we learned to play things there like table tennis, pool. We had boxing classes. Like I joined my borough's basketball team, the Haringey Warriors, when I was young. And this is all because I grew up in a community. And I feel like Wood Green definitely shaped my beliefs. It helped me understand culture a lot more, because if you're in Wood Green, like the majority of the people I grew up around was like, you know, black, the barbershop, yardies in the barbershop, coming in there, you know, local Kenny's on Lordship Lane, getting your hair cut, you know, you're always going to hear yard bashment anthems in there. You're always going to hear the kind of gossip in the ends, what's going on.
You like there was a big sense of community.
Yeah, massive sense of community. And I didn't realize it proper until you get older and you look back and you kind of see those relationships and understand. Because when you're growing up, you're thinking, that person just lives here, I live here. Like, it's not that deep. But then as you get older, you understand the importance of community and how those things kind of interlink and kind of build you. But I feel like, for me, it could have gone very left, I think.
100%.
And I think my mum sending me to a school outside of my area, which was in East Finchley, shout out to Bishop Douglas, all my Bishop Douglas people, it kind of put me in a whole new light and put me around different people that had different experiences and growing up completely different. And it kind of took me away from where I could have ended up. Because I feel like if I went to a school in Wood Green or Tottenham, so like a St Thomas More or White Hart Lane, I would be on a completely different path. Because even now, when I look at like all these videos, like I watch drill videos online and they've got like these videos ranking crews and gangs and stuff. You're seeing it like in the top 10 is like Broadwater Farm, Wood Green, 3x3 Edmonton. These are all North London areas that I grew up around, and there was gangs that I grew up around, and they're to this day still with like the most notorious in London. It blows my mind. So I always look back at it and go, for me to be doing what I'm doing now, I kind of count my blessings, because it really could have went another way. And you know, like people like Poet and everyone knows that as well. Like we all grew up in the same area, knew the same people. But I never take away from it, because I feel like it just gave me that real authentic cultural experience, like that you just can't buy, and it kind of puts you in good stead when you go into the real world.
No doubt. Do you know what? It's funny that you mentioned, that like you felt a bit resentful because it was like there was a moment of like, rah, like how comes we live here? And do you know it's mad? I hated the fact that I left my estate and moved into a house.
Really?
I hated it.
Serious?
I did not want to leave my estate and move into a house. And now I look back and I realize, I think, oh, right, like my mum actually smashed it. Do you get what I'm saying? Like she was in a situation where it was like, you know, the debt and all of these things. I didn't understand all of that. She come out of it and bought a house. But like, I didn't want to move. I wanted to stay right in there. I'm glad that we did move, because I was able to, just like you, come out and see, you know, different things or whatever, and just like live.
Broaden your horizons.
Yeah, definitely. But I didn't want to move. I didn't want to move.
it's funny that you're saying you resent that, because I then started going out in like talk stuff, and like that was the group of friends that I started.
Is that the hood?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like, and they all knew everyone, and they all lived 3 doors away from each other, and then I'd have to travel all the way to and they'd already all be there. You know?
Yeah.
And I was always like, oh, I've got no mates up here. But my mum was like, yeah, Chel, but we've got a lovely house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just relax, it's fine. But I'd always be a bit like, oh, why have we got to live so far? Like, I was a little, I didn't see it. It was kind of bratish attitude. But the whole thing about being swayed, yeah, I remember like the girls that I started hanging around with, and it was like the first group of girls that I had, so it was like I'd take what I could get, because I was very like I had other friends in school, but I don't know, it was like I said, these popular girls, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of in there, but mate, I did not like it.
Really?
I did not like it. Just some of the stuff that they be getting up to, and you know, I was just like, this ain't for me, this is not for me. I think I only lasted with them a good few months or whatever.
Fair.
But just not a nice crowd.
Yeah.
What kind of challenges did you have in school though?
Well, I was mixed race in school, and my school was predominantly white. It was run by nuns, St. Julie's.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I went there. Katarina Johnson Thompson went there, the athlete, and Jodie Comer.
Can I just stop you there quickly?
Yeah.
I know you wouldn't. No one may not know this, but this is for a question for everyone in here. Is that still a thing? Like, is there like schools that are still run by nuns?
I think so.
That one was, yeah. St. Julie's
Wow.
Catholic High.
'Cause I used to see nuns, like I used to see bare nuns in Ealing and that, but I ain't seen a. Do you know what? I ain't seen a nun in time.
Yeah, neither have
Do
I.
you know
to be
what?
fair.
Yeah, in the comments, yeah, can you like literally in the comments just mention
The last time
you
you
saw
seen
a
a
nun?
nun.
Yeah, I ain't
please.
seen one in ages.
Yeah. Anyway, I
Ain't
know it's
seen
mad.
none.
It was run by nuns.
Honourable shout out to Sister Act. But
Yeah,
go on anyway.
Sister Anne Marie, her name was. Oh, I was petrified of her, mate. I was petrified. So anyway, yeah, I was like, it was us. We were all in that school, and we've ended up all doing quite well. It's a good school, but it's strict, and yeah, like I was like, there was 3 of us, I think. Yeah, 3 black mixed race girls or whatever. The rest, everyone was white. So I used to, when I first joined, there was a bit of like racism, like bullying or stuff, like from just being racist and stuff. But like I said, I was just good at sport, so I was the sports captain. If we done a bleep test, I'd be going till the end. Like everyone would be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like
You're always
but I was
cool when
just-
you're the sports
I was
person.
good
100%.
at that, and so that kind of got me over not being loud in a classroom, not being on report or getting loads of detentions. I felt like all the popular kids were either naughty or they were like, but where I was just like, I was everyone's mate, but just because like, oh, it's just Chelcee, and like she's
she's
if
good
cross
at this.
country was coming up, then
Yeah.
everyone wanted to be my mate or
Yeah,
my
yeah.
partner. So like I had something like positive that made me like okay.
got you.
Do you know what? That was always a thing in school. I noticed. Like, see, when Sports Day came along,
Yeah.
if you were sick at something at Sports Day, you were automatically popular.
Yeah.
100%.
Because that was the thing everyone spoke
People
about
were
the next day.
gravitating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
smashed 100 meters
Yeah.
or whatever, you were the guy
Yeah,
or
yeah,
you were
yeah.
the girl. Like, it was
Yeah,
mad
yeah.
back then.
You could easily like if there was something in sport that you was good at, then that would bide you some. No, I don't want to say bullying time, but like no one's troubling you really
Yeah.
because
Clout points.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do
Got
know
clout
what I'm saying? Oh,
tokens.
you play football? Yeah, I need you.
Yeah.
Are you good at rounders? Yeah. I
It was
need you.
funny though, because Katarina's a year below me. So like the first year 7 I was in, like everyone was like, oh, because I was like so fast. I was like 75 meter champion. Like I was even doing like long jump and hurdles and all that. But anyway, then next year, so we're all like traveling to like like the sports ground or whatever. And this new girl comes, and then she just starts beating me. I was like,
Blowing
who
out
is
the water.
this? And then I see now she's gone on to win like a few gold medals. I'm like, I'm all right with that. I can live with that.
It wasn't in vain. Yeah.
To be fair, she's tall as well, isn't
She's
she?
very
She's
tall,
got
yeah.
the
Super long
structure of an
legs.
athlete.
She was sick.
For you though,
Yeah.
challenges in school.
So my one was a bit tricky, man, because basically I started my secondary school late, and this was one of the reasons I didn't end up in a school in my area, because I was supposed to go to a school called Alexandra Park, which is like near Wood Green, and it was a brand new school. It was built like I think 3 years before I was starting it. So when I was coming into it in year 7, there was only year 9. There were no year 10s or
Okay.
11s. It was a new school, but because it was a new school, it was the most popular in the area. So it was oversubscribed. Everyone was trying to get their child a place in this school. And I remember I got a place, but because it was so over demand, you had to be there on time. And in that year, I went to America.
Okay.
Oh man.
And yeah, and I was in New York. So basically what happened was my mum got them to basically give me a bit more time because we was in New York and we had a wedding to go to, and they were like, all right, you can't start this year more than 2 weeks later, you're going to lose your place. And my mum was like, cool. And then 9/11 happened.
While you was out there?
Yeah.
Man, what was that like?
So we were in New York when it happened. It was crazy, bro. But the thing is, my grandma lived in the Bronx. So obviously it happened in Manhattan. Anyone that's been in New York, it's massive New York. Like, so we were far away. Like, it's one train, the number 7 or whatever. But being in New York at the time, I just remember it being crazy. Like, I was like 10, 11 at the time. And I just remember not being able to fly back because everyone was scared.
Yeah.
Everyone, like, even if you could get a flight, everyone was like, do we even want to fly?
Yeah, exactly.
JFK, like, is someone going to take the plane or...
Yeah.
So then I ended up staying in New York like a lot longer than that. And then I lost my place in the school. So then when we got... And they weren't showing no lenience towards it. So when we came back, like, my mum had to scramble and find a school. So then she found one in Finchley, which was far back then, because I had to get like either 2 buses or 1 hour and 10 minutes. Imagine being like that young and getting a bus that long.
That is long.
The 232 all the way to Finchley, exactly. So, and I'd have to wake up extra early.
So you got to leave your at like 7.
Bro, I was leaving early. It was crazy. But yeah, so I went Bishop Douglas and Finchley, but I always felt like I was playing catch up because I started school late. So by the time I got into year 7, remember year 7 is when you start secondary school. It's a whole new journey. So when I started, everyone had already kind of made friendships. They'd gravitated towards who they were cool with. So then I was there's this new kid in the class, just some young mixed race kid. Like, I was just like, I'm not even from here. I'm from Wood Green. A lot of the people in my school were from Northwest because it was in Finchley. Like, a lot of North Wheezy people were in my school. So I had to my school was kind of like a journey from coming in being that kind of outcast, no one really knew, to then by year 11, like, went out with one of the best looking girls in school. Like, it was mine was a proper journey of like no one to kind of, not someone, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I always felt like I had to prove myself.
Patterned after a while.
I felt like I had to prove myself young because when I came in, it was like I was only into wrestling. I was into like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, I was into like neaky stuff. I watched every day. Finished school, ran home to watch Dragon Ball Z on Cartoon Network. Like, I was proper neaky. And then the people in my school were just a lot more. There was a lot of road people in my school, so they were a lot cooler. So obviously you want to get in with those because those are the cool people. And then I kind of started seeing my friendship circle kind of change, and then I was starting to hang around the more cool kids. Started kind of abandoning my early year 7, year 8 friends because
your interest is changing a tiny bit.
Yeah, and then you start liking girls, and then the people I originally hung around with, they just wasn't interested in girls like that. Like, they were genuinely interested in video games and things like that. But I wanted to. Puberty was hitting. You know what I mean? I was looking at girls like, what? Like, let's hang around with the girls. So mine was just like a journey, man. Would
you say as well you started looking at like what success was in some way differently?
Do you know what? I'll be honest. Looking at where I am now, you might, like, someone might look at me and think that, but I wasn't focused on that at all, you know? Like, I would never, you know, people got them stories in school, like, I was a hustler in school, I was selling penny sweets, I was selling that. And I look at people and I'm like, you're not really on that? Because when I was in school, I wasn't thinking about money like that, man. Like I said, I had both parents, so I was kind of like, I was babied, man. Like, I was just I wasn't that self-sufficient. But then, funnily enough, around the time when I first started my secondary school, I won a modelling competition.
What? Go on.
No. So basically what I was, I don't even want to make it sound like that. So basically, the long story short is, there was in my local shopping centre, Chelcee in Wood Green, they ran a modelling competition every year, and anyone could enter it. And I entered it for bants. My friends like betted me. They were like, I dare you. No, they dared me. They were like, I dare you, yeah.
What people do, take a picture and that and send it to them and that?
No, they were there. Like, we used to go into the shopping city and just watch the modelling catwalk.
Oh, fair.
So then a year later, they were like, we went in to watch it again, and they were like, I was like 11 at the time. They were like, enter it. We'll give you £4 if you enter. I dare you to do it for £4. So I was like, do it. So I went in it, was walking down the catwalk, like, just making a joke of it. And then I started getting further and further in the rounds. And then in the final, I went up against one kid. He was the clear favourite. This is how mad it is. He would come out with a silk shirt, sunglasses, a belt, dressed like The Rock. No word of a lie.
Oh my God.
And when he would come out, they would drop The Rock's music, like everything. God. And his parents used to be there because my mum and dad didn't even know I entered this. This was like just me and my friends on a banter thing.
Yeah.
And he was the favourite, and I beat him. And it was like this massive upset. Like, the judges chose me. His parents started switching after. Like, it was almost like they bribed them or something. No, real talk. And then I got a year contract modelling. basically.
Serious?
Yeah, with an agency. Swear down, with an agency called Truly Scrumptious. So it was like
Oh my God.
I know.
Truly
I know. Do you know what it is?
Scrumptious.
I've got the photo album. I'm gonna post it on my story on Instagram one day. But basically,
Truly Scrumptious.
yeah, that opened
What
my.
a name.
It's crazy.
Hello, welcome, Julie
Truly
Scrumptious.
Scrumptious.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got a
but-
modelling contract. What? Who with?
Truly
Scrumptious. You get me? Come on, G.
But yeah, that opened up my mind to. That was my first bit of money, man. I started earning money. Like I started getting.
Oh, so they
extra
actually
work.
had like, because when you say Truly Scrumptious, that sounds like they're just trying a thing, really. But
Yeah.
they actually really had connects.
They were on job. It was
Oh,
a
okay,
serious
same
thing. Like, it was a
thing.
proper. It was based in Central London. It was a proper child modelling agency. It was like one of the big ones. And yeah, like they started getting me jobs, like, and I started getting money, but I wasn't seeing the money. My mum was taking the money and holding it. But that was when I first started realizing, whoa, like. One, that was my introduction to entertainment, being in front of the camera. Because I started getting extra work. Like, I started being in there was a show on BBC One called Baby Father with, like, Angela Griffiths and all of these people. And I was, like, an extra in there. I was in the wedding scene. And so it was my first kind of introduction, getting my feet wet to entertainment and earning money. And then that's what kind of unlocked what I wanted to do now. Like, kind of doing that earning money. And then I did that for, like, 2 years. And my mum took me out. She's like, you got to focus on education. You know that age-old thing that parents do, your GCSEs. But I always wanted to go back to it. But I think that was the only kind of like exposure to money and kind of entertainment in that aspect. But I wasn't actually thinking about earning money that young.
Did you see the P's though?
I saw it in the forms of trainers and video games and toys and stuff like that.
You know what? Anyway, I'm not even mad at parents that don't, because at the end of the day, sometimes things are hard and whatever. Sometimes bills need to be paid.
Yeah, of
food
course,
needs to, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
man,
I'm
pimp
not-
out your child. No,
But for you, like you, because obviously you mentioned like football's played a big role in your life, obviously. But you got into singing as well, like around 15.
Yeah, like
you said.
16.
15,
yeah,
16.
16.
So-
So after, obviously, I was just doing some BVs in my boyfriend's house or whatever. I took it in GCSE. I took music just because I chose PE and science because I was going to go into physiotherapy or something like that if I got an injury. And then it was between like geography, history or music. And I was like, okay, I'm terrible at the other two. Music's sounds like fun, you know what I mean? If it's raining outside and you take music, you can sit in the music room at break time. So I was just thinking about that. I learned piano really quickly. My music teacher was like, you know, when she'd give us, go and write a song this weekend, come back in and perform it. And I started enjoying it. And she was going, you're really good, you're really good. Anyway, this show ended up on radio. Was it radio? Oh no, it was Juice FM, sorry, which is now Capital in Liverpool. But it was our big radio station. And they announced, we're looking for the next urban star, it was called. And if you won, you got 6 months mentorship with Ryan Babel, the Liverpool player at the time.
wow.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, I was at a party, I remember, all left backs.
Yeah, hold on a minute. He was actually doing some stuff in the music world,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
he still is. He signed
he?
like 2 acts. Yeah, he's
I
actually,
remember that. Yeah,
Wow,
he's
That's
really
mad.
into it. Yeah. So I was at a house party, I remember, all left back, Shanice Williams, her name is. I was starting to sing back then, and when we'd all like, you know, be out, everyone goes, Chelsea, sing a song, and that would be like, I start singing or whatever. So she put me in for this, and anyway, 2 weeks goes by, didn't know about it. I got a message on MySpace from Ryan Babel official, and I was like, oh my God, what's he messaged me for? Looked, and it was legit, and he said, hey, you've been entered in this competition, you missed the first round, but we really like you, and we want you to come to the next one. So I turned up, and I sang my own song, I got through, got to the final. And anyway, I ended up winning, just singing my own song. I wrote this song called Mannequin. I knew like 4 chords on the piano, and like I turned up with my mum, and all the kids in the final were like from Lippe, and they would come and like, oh, that's my manager. I didn't even know how to plug my piano in at the time. Me and my mum were like scrapping round, and I ended up winning, but I actually got loads of backlash off that.
Why?
Because people like from the ends and that, like, will start being like, she's pop, she's not urban, she's not the next urban star, she's pop. But like, it was judged by like Ryan, this guy from Universal Music, one of the DJs on the station, and all their feedback would be like, listen, that song you've just performed, like I'd play that on the radio tomorrow. And everyone else was like singing, like, I don't know, just like covers, and I just turned up and done my own songs. So that's how I loved songwriting. I knew that, okay, if artist doesn't work, I'd just be a songwriter anyway. Predominantly, like, my family's white, and a lot of like the other guys, were just like, yeah, she's not urban. She's not urban enough. And I was just like, I'm 16, give me a break. Like, that's
so like
not my
people
fault.
sort of judged you more on the fact that obviously the music didn't sound a certain type of way.
Yeah.
But also they're looking into the crowd and seeing your family and thinking
She's just like a...
she's a white girl, basically.
Yeah, literally. And even, I think, like, you can tell, like, my ethnicity, but a lot of people are like, oh, you could be Spanish or something. A guy I actually dated as well, he said, oh, I just thought you were, like, a white girl who, like, the sunbed. I was like, no. So, yeah, I don't know. But, yeah, that was the first time when I was like, okay, like, I'm really being judged on, like, just that. Okay, whatever. But anyway, I ended up winning, and I ended up being, like, in studios in like Ryan Babel's house with like all producers, and I started like recording, and then after that we go to the game with his wife and take me in the, and I was just like, oh my god, this is the pinnacle of like my life's made. I'm doing music and football and it's combined, and I think that's when the light switch went off for me and thought maybe I can combine the two of these.
Because that's kind of rare. But I just wanted, because as well, like, I don't know how I remember this, but I know that like Ryan Babel was like having moments where he was spending like times with artists and stuff like that, and I think now you see that a lot. Now you see like a lot of the footballers mixing with artists and stuff like that, but at that particular time it wasn't as common. No. That's probably why
he got a lot of hate actually. For like if he had a bad game, they'd be like,
oh he was with so and so and he was doing
spending too much time in the studio.
I think footballers still get elements of that, but probably not as much, because they're like, you see, you know, artists with footballers and stuff like that.
Yeah, like you saw Sancho and Sterling at Murky Fest last year, and everyone was filming that. But it's funny because Ryan Babel, even recently, he was getting flack because he was in remember when Tory was in Quarantine Radio?
Oh yeah.
He was in the comments like every day, like just emojis every day, and it became a thing. Like, where's Ryan Babel? Like, it's just like.
At a young age, doing football and progressing in that and progressing in music, did it not feel like there was going to be a time where you had to make a choice, where it was like, you know what?
The choice was made when I was 18, mate, and I got a record deal after like doing music for 2 years, and that happened, and then I made a ton of money compared to I've played football from the age of 9 to 16 and didn't see a penny from women's football. Yeah. So potentially if I was a guy, might have done that, but at that time, you know, you're turning 17, 18, everyone was having other jobs, and I was just playing like any open mics I could play. I started getting my own gigs, selling my own tickets, like £5 a ticket, I'd keep £2. Like I was hustling like that, like, and then I started building a fan base, and then more and more people would start coming, and kids would start coming with like tattoos and me lyrics, and I was like, okay, this is catching on. And then Sony signed me, and I had like a lot of money in my bank from seeing like 0 0, and I was like, sack the footy off. So I left that.
Was that a record deal or publishing deal? Or?
Record deal, yeah. Okay. RCA signed me. And then when you sign a record deal, the publishers come in, and then because they want the money from your songwriting, obviously, and I was writing everything. And then I hated...
So you got a publishing deal after that as well?
Yeah. But then they tried to make me like an Alicia Keys, because I played piano then, and they were like, oh, you could be the UK Alicia Keys, and we're going to get you the piano, and we're going to graffiti it. And I was just like, I went from literally no idea of what I was doing, just like, I loved music, I could write a good song, to then being like first class train ticket to London. It sat in a boardroom meeting with like all people just telling me who I'm going to be. And I made a record for like 6-7 months, and I hated it. Didn't release nothing. Then got paid out to like leave, went back to Liverpool, and I was okay because no one knew me in London because I made the record in Liverpool. And I wasn't going to events and all that. So I was really just a little secret. Travelled for like 2 years, spent it all. And then I was like, what am I going to do now? I mean, mum was like, you're going to have to go and get a job, Chel. Like, you're going to have to go. And I think it was like a month, I was down to like my last $2,000. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then I got one call from this guy called Peter McCamley, who'd signed Spice Girls and Craig David. And I met him. I remember my train was late. I was like half an hour late. I had running in the middle of Soho to Soho Hotel to meet him. He asked me 2 questions. He just said like, who do you aspire to be, and like something else, and I just blurted out all this, and then he went, all right, I've got to go, you were late, so I'm leaving now. I just remember
you was late.
I was late. My train was just stuck, like the one time just stuck on the track, and I was just like, oh my God, this is the one meeting I had, like no one else wanted to touch me because they were like, you've been signed, nothing's happened, where's the album? And I was like, well, I hated it anyway. Ended up going back home. Just that's the first time I think that overrid like my first heartbreak. I felt heartbroken going back, like I've messed it up, right? Let's get on the job sites here. And then he called the next day. He went, I've listened to your whole catalogue of like 100 songs, and he said, I think you've got 2 hits in there, I'll sign you. And it was a really small deal, but I'd done it. He moved me down to London. He gave me like, I didn't get me chunk of money then. That's when I started realising, all right, I've blew that. That was a terrible decision. Now I started spreading my money out. I pay myself like I was skinned, but I started like just
you started
thinking,
like money management
thinking like more like that. And then I think the month after that, I wrote my first song for Kylie Minogue, and then it just...
Insane. We're going to get to that in a bit, actually.
Madness.
But before we do that, right, there's a part, like, that you just skipped over a bit. You see the part between having this deal, making that money, then coming out of the deal, spending all of the money, and then having to think for a moment, I might have to get a normal job.
Yeah.
Explain to me how that felt in that moment there.
Very, very, very scary. Like I said, all I've done from the age of 9 then is doing things that I'm good at, and I always felt good at. And, you know, I'm looking at my mum thinking, she hates a job, but I don't have to worry about that. And then I was putting myself in a position going, shit, I might have to go and do something now that I don't really like. Getting up every day for something I don't really like. And that had never entered my mind, because I was just so, you know, what you like as a kid, I'm going to make it. I've got all this fight. That was the first time I sat down and thought, this might not happen. This might not happen for me, actually. Like I said, you get signed and my family's there and I'm signing. I've got my champagne, I'm posting. And everyone's like, she's signed to the same label as Beyonce and Britney and Justin Timberlake. And then, boom, like, actually.
Yeah.
And it was scary, yeah.
Of course.
But, you know, to the day, till my last penny was still in my bank, I still believed, and that got me over the line, I think, and got that meeting
Come
in.
on.
So, yeah, and it worked out.
One thing that I've seen from you, yeah, over the last year, the few years or whatever, is how infectious your personality is when it comes to talking about stuff that you're passionate about. Like, when did that become a thing for you to pursue, or was it a thing to pursue? Well, was it like, was you trying to go down another direction and just sort of fell into this career of, you know, expressing your personality?
Yeah, I think for a while, I just wanted to be a presenter and a broadcaster. So it was just like, all right, what skill set do I have that I can then translate into money? Well, you know, I enjoy presenting, I enjoy having topics and discussions. But what I quickly learnt with that is, when you're a presenter or broadcaster, you're not really supposed to give your opinion. You're kind of the person that
You're like
anchors
the
it
referee.
and connects. Yeah, you're almost connecting the dots. You're not supposed to have that opinion. If you're a massive presenter, if you're a Dermot O'Leary, whether you be reading a teleprompter, they're not actually your words or thoughts. You're just regurgitating whatever the producer or whoever's come up with. So for ages, it was like, no, I just want to be that. I just want to be a presenter, get my money, trade that skill. And then I quickly learned that the environment that I'm in, being the internet, social media and everything, the game's changing. It's not like the days when, you know, it was like Ant and Dec, Reggie Yates, and it was just presenters. We're seeing personalities come through on YouTube now. We're seeing people actually just give their thoughts, opinions, their personality, and people are gravitating towards them. And then the industry started shifting even more to where the personalities were then just becoming presenters because they're popular anyway. So then I thought, you know what, like, I've got to give a piece of me and get my brand out there and give what I'm into, my passion and my interests, something that people can grow with. Because at the end of the day, if you're just a presenter and no one really knows what you're interested in or what your thoughts and feelings are, why are they going to feel invested in you? Yeah. Once you get taken out of that position, you're easily replaceable then, because you're not actually giving your own thoughts. So for me, it started to dawn on me that, and obviously I've got loads of people. I've got, you know, people like yourself, all of my friends. I've got a strong network of people that are personalities anyway. So I just thought to myself, you know what? Throughout the years, the biggest pieces of work that I've done that I've felt most proud of have been the things where I've given my personality. So when I started that football show, Kebabs, Lads and Shin-Pads in 2012, when I went in then did Filthy Fellas, do you know what I mean? When I've went and done passion projects that wasn't for maybe a big brand where I'm trying to sell their narrative or whatever their idea for the project is, something I'm invested in, it's always felt the best. It's always felt like...
fulfilling.
Yeah, like this is how I would talk to my friends in the ends. Yeah. This is who I am. I shouldn't have to then enter another environment and compromise who I am just to fit the environment. So why have you got me then? Why have you got me in here just to then alter or change who I am?
Yeah.
When you can go and find another person and do the exact thing and turn them into that mold. I still have to keep that integrity and me in there. Yeah. You know, this is the fashion I'm into. This is the music I'm into. This is how I speak to my friends. I don't speak like that as much anymore.
Do you know what? You're not that type of person. And it's fine.
Yeah.
Trust me. Like, it's fine to be from a place where, you know what, like, we have friends that are like that. Like, I got friends that are like that. And I might speak a certain type of way, but I'm not all the way there like that.
Yeah.
I'm not all the way there like that. But, like, I guess that it's about consistently just being yourself, because otherwise, if you go in there and, you know, over-exaggerate elements of that person, then you always have to be that person.
Exactly.
It's easier to just be, you know what, I talk like this, I do what my opinions are the way that they are, whatever, and you know what, this is just the way that I do things, and I'm willing to learn.
Yeah. Well, the maddest thing is, like, I see myself as like a hybrid anyway, purely, and it goes full circle back to what I said before, because I didn't go to school in my ends, because I went to a school in Finchley, then I went to a college in Camden with like affluent, you know, individuals, like their parents lived in Hampstead and stuff like that, and they had money. It was like middle class kids. My horizons were expanded, so naturally I was finding myself talking different anyway. I was picking up different ways to communicate with people. Whereas if you go to the end, someone that's lived their whole life in the hood and they've never really left the hood, there's always people in the hood that haven't been on many holidays and seen the world and expanded their culture and everything. They really talk a particular way and they only carry themselves one way. But the more you mix and integrate with different people, you just find yourself picking up things. You know, the food you eat, the fashion you're into, the music you listen to. It's just
that's just about building your character.
And your palette. It's just expanding your palette. And I just feel like that's what happened with me. But yeah, man, I think just overall, for me personally, I just needed to answer your question anyway, I needed to really inject my personality into things and then start making content that was more authentic to me, because I know longevity in the long run, that's going to put me in good stead.
What were the challenges in doing that?
Just adjusting to the kind of corporate world I started to find myself in, like starting working for Premier League, working for BBC, you know, Match the X, with Chelcee and just different things, TalkSport, just trying to understand that. Do you know what, I'll never forget, when I started doing the lines then for England, right? I know, so shout out to Zander, works at the FA, like he pushed for me to get that job. Like he pushed and he pushed, because obviously this is the FA. It's very suit, tie, very professional. And they wanted to be a bit more relatable to the young people, but they needed someone as well that still had that kind of cosign. And I'd worked for the Premier League and I worked for JD with footballers. So it was like, all right, he's from the internet, so we can use someone, but we know he's trusted with a professional body like the Premier League. So we can use him. But then even when I got in there, I remember having conversations and like, first episode of The Lions, then how am I going to attack this? Am I going to come in and be like this person that they want me to be? Or am I going to come in there and be really, really, you know, cool, like how the footballers maybe speak off camera? Like I had to do this because I realized that when this goes out, a whole new audience that don't even know who I am are going to see this. And I remember doing that first live Lions Den in Russia in the hotel with Deli Ali, and we were sitting in there, and I came in there full tilt street. You can go and watch it. If you go on that first episode, type Deli Ali Lions Den, you can see it, and it was received horribly. Like I was like, I had my feet up on the table. I was like, yo, yes, Deli, what on, bro? Like, I was talking like that, like proper. And Deli was a bit confused. Like he was a bit like he didn't know how to take it, because he didn't expect to come into that environment. And even though like Deli's from Milton Keynes, like he has the elements, but he's not like all the way in there like we are. So even he was a bit like, whoa, what's going on here? And then
taken aback.
And I remember afterwards we looked at the comments, we looked at the feedback, and it was just like constantly, and it was borderline racist, but it was just like, who's this gangster? This person, look at him, he thinks he's 50 Cent. Like that stereotypes, like all of this stuff coming in. And you got to remember, before we did the Lions Den, the whole of the channel had a completely different audience. It was kind of older. If you looked how the YouTube was marketed, it was very corporate, FA. The channel was called the FA, and then they changed it to England because they wanted it to be younger and have that appeal. So then the second episode, I had to kind of adjust. I can't remember who I had on the second. It might have been Ruben, it had to be someone. But I had to kind of adjust.
In what sense?
I had to tone it down. I had to tone down how much slang I was using, how overly... And the thing is, when I toned it down, it became actually more me, because I wasn't that person anyway. Like I do use slang.
Do you feel like in that moment, it was such a big thing, and the fact that like they've come to you on a thing of like, we need someone who's a bit more relatable to, you know what I mean, young people, that there's like, you know, there's this thing within you that's like, cool, you know what, maybe they want me to just be a bit more thingy, like.
Or was it maybe just, I'm thinking, because it was so corporate, the FA, did you not want people to think that you were selling out by being like all upright? Right. Did you turn it up or not?
So that didn't cross, so when I did it, initially, that didn't cross my mind. That crossed my mind after, when I actually toned it down. I started having those thoughts like, am I now am I selling out? Because you gotta remember, when you're on this thing, like they were clipping because we were getting the exclusive, so the players were coming in here. This is the only place you could see a footballer talk live about the World Cup and England's journey. Everywhere else, it was like a pre-record for Sky or whatever it happened to be. This is where you could see them talk live. There's no editing.
Yeah.
Whatever they say is what they say, and we'd got the exclusive. That was the whole point of it, so that England and us, we controlled the narrative of what the players were saying. Because the news can spin things, especially during the World Cup. You know what the newspapers do. So I knew there was another level of eyes that are going to see this. So I started then overthinking my position. Like, what am I here to do? And then, like I said, the second episode, it was more like, Craig, you don't talk like that anymore anyway. Like, at the time, like, you're 27.
Yeah.
Like, you're not young like that anymore as well. Like, you've grown up, you get in certain environments and you know how to kind of carry yourself in a certain way. So then the second episode, I sprinkled it. I had it more, and it's more in line of who I was. I sprinkle it here and there. I speak how I speak. When it's a serious conversation, we're having that serious conversation, I'm not going to do that. If we're having more playful, then that's going to come out. And I had to find that balance. And then as the World Cup went on and it went along, it became a thing. People just understood what it was. Kieran Trippier had a problem with me, and I didn't know this. And basically what happened was, throughout the whole thing, Kieran Trippier was one of the nicest footballers I've ever met. Like, the whole time, anyone that knows him, you'll see, he'll come round and shake everyone. You know that person that shake everyone's hands in the room? It could be the person that you don't even notice making tea. He'll shake everyone's hand, very polite. And I remember from the beginning, because I spent 2-3 weeks at St. George's Park before I even went to Russia. At the beginning, he was bare nice. And then halfway through the trip in Russia, like, we've all beat Tunisia, like, the thing's up. There was rumours around, like, Trippier doesn't want to do lines then with Craig, like, he doesn't like Craig, all of these things. And I was thinking, what's going on? So I was pleading with the people at FA, like, tell me what's going on, because everyone didn't really want to tell me to make it awkward. But basically, someone showed him a clip where I was on YouTube, basically saying back in the day, Carl Walker's way better than him, like, because I'm a Spurs fan. And they were competing for right back. I was like, Carl Walker's way better than Trippier. So I think one of his friends or someone sent that to him, like, don't do lines then with him, whatever. Just stirring it up. Back home, someone sent it to him. So I'll never forget, they were like, don't worry. I just took it upon myself. One day I went up, I knocked on his bedroom door in the hotel room, went onto his floor, knocked on it. I remember, I'll never forget this. I don't know if he opened the door, had a headset on. He must have been playing Fortnite or something. I'm not obsessed with it. And I was like to him, bro, what's going on? Like, is there a problem? And he was like, oh, what do you mean? And I was like, no, because I'm just hearing like, da-da-da-da-da. And he was like, yeah, like, I heard you, da-da-da. And we just had a real conversation. I was like, bro, look.
Love that.
Back then, I was a fan.
Yeah.
That's all it was. Like, look at any fan now. Every fan has their day where their favourite footballer might be the person they love the most. They missed that golden chance. They're a villain. And then you get emotional. Your emotions get involved. So I was a fan. Today, I'm a broadcaster. I'm a professional. I'm someone in this environment who's just trying to do what I'm doing now. Like, you wouldn't see me saying those particular things now from a place of, like, emotion or malice or anything, because that's just not where I am today. And we just had a real conversation, and he was just like, I respect that, man.
Yeah, that's
And ever
big.
since then, we've just been cool. Like, we chat, we chop it up, because we just had that real conversation.
Same also in music though as well, and like, obviously for you, you've obviously then, got to a point where you started writing songs or whatever, smash it with Kylie Minogue and all these type of things and whatnot. How did life change for you?
The phone started ringing then. I went from, like I said, from one meeting, no one else wanted to know who I was, and then the guy took a chance on me, Pete, and then I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest. I never really went out and wrote for someone else. I was always writing for me, and do I like that? I don't know if I like that. And then it become, okay, Kylie Minogue's making a new album. I was 21 at the time. I was like, what do I know about Kylie Minogue? How am I going to write a song? These producers, I was in Denmark. It was the first flight I had out, like, paid for as a songwriter. Like, we're paying you to come over to your brain and I was just like, oh my God, I'm a real songwriter. Got off the plane. Sorry, I remember I was in the deadest hotel. Like, it was literally the single bed, and you could, like, I had to slip through to, like, get past my suitcase into the bathroom. Like, it was terrible. Anyway, went in the session, met them all. And it was a Cuffather, and they'd just done everything from, like, Britney to Pussycat Dolls back in the day, like, Jamelia Superstar. They'd done, like, or just, like, proper hit, like, proper pop royalty, like, Scandinavian producers. And they were like, yeah, to Kylie. And I just said, okay, play the track. And then I wrote this tune called Million Miles, and the lyric was, feel like I'm a million miles away. And I was just talking about being far from home, but I made it seem like it was a love story. And then they were like, this is great. I'd done it in like 20 minutes. It was just one of them. I was just like, anxiety, I think, and like nervousness, and it just all come out, and I wanted to prove that I was good. And then that night, I was in the bed lying there, and they sent it to Carly, and she wrote back, and they forwarded it to me, and they were like, she's going to cut it tomorrow. And I heard the song the next day. I went back to the hotel, stayed 2 nights, and just played it, and she was singing my song, and I heard my backing vocals in, and I was like,
Yeah, that's cold.
Kylie Minogue, like, is singing my tune, like, do you know what I mean? And
then, how sick it is, actually, because there's been bare times I've been in studio sessions, yeah, and been with someone who's written a song or whatnot, and then come back a week or a month later, and then heard someone singing the song, and I'm like, right, that must feel so good.
It's so, I mean, for me, that I'm 21, you know, I've just been given a little chance. I'm still thinking this could all go to tomorrow, and then it's not just like a little artist, which usually, you know, people who on the come up, you get like with new artists who just got signed, because you're only getting
Minogue, you know?
but
Massive.
straight in, and then yeah, the album goes to #1, and then I've got a disc straight away on me #1 album, and then it was like that album was being like looked after by Sia at the time, and that's when she was just flying. She was like looking after like co-producing and like doing a lot of big albums, and then so it was like Sia, Pharrell Williams was on track 2. Then it was like Chelcee Grimes, and I was like,
up there with the gods.
yeah, it was sick, and that just, you know, pushed me on, then spurred me on, and then
What did it feel like when you got your first plaque?
yeah, that was just because, like I said, you know, I used to go to all these studios and
see them.
and
Yeah.
just wish that one day my life looked like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've just bought my own house now, and I've got about, I don't know, 12 to, I think I counted the other day, there's 12, and I'm waiting on a few. And I'm just like...
plaques and that?
Yeah, I'm like...
12. See how she said that? I got 12.
Yeah, but like it's not. I mean, like, listen, I've gone to the guy like Biff. He has a house in Brighton, an amazing writer, and he done all the Spice Girls tunes. Like, he's got this mansion on the water, and like he's got all his cars. Like I'm saying, I'm not that, but like it's just nice that I can like have plaques on. Like I've done what I wanted.
Yeah.
Like that was just a small part of it, but yeah, I got obviously the Dua Lipa record. That's just become the most streamed female album this year, and I got one, and they had done 4 on the last one. Just like little breakthroughs like that, even random stuff. Like I done a song with her in Blackpink, like the biggest Asian act girl band, ended up collaborating, and then
like, they're massive.
They're huge. Yeah, but
I saw them on what was it?
They were on Coachella. Well, that's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah, I was in Liverpool. Imagine that. I was in Liverpool, and I just had Coachella on, and
they headlined.
And they was, and I was like, who are?
Yeah.
I was watching. I was like, who are they? And then when I've done my Googles, I'm like, right, these lot are massive. Like the crowd was going ham. They had all these dance moves. The production was insane, and obviously, as you said, they were headlining. But yeah, like they're massive,
mate,
you know?
it's
Like massive. Have you heard of them before?
No.
They're like
massive.
that's what I say as being a songwriter as well. Anyway, that one of them songs we done, they're doing in Blackpink.
You're a songwriter and you write for someone like that.
But that I didn't intentionally. I just wrote that song with Do It, and then like 6 months later, it didn't make the album, and I was always like, well, I had 3 on it anyway with her that we'd wrote, but I knew that was a great record, and I was like, why didn't that make it to the label? And they were like, oh, they think Kiss and Make Up, the lyrics too young, and I was like, we sent it to like Demi Lovato. Who else did we send it to? I think like Miley or someone like that. And it kept coming back, and they were like, if you change that lyric, and I was like, I'm not changing it. I know that's a great record. I'm sticking to it. And then like Dua done a repack album, and then I got a call from a manager, and he was like, there was a big thing at the time, like Sean Paul wanted it, and it was going to be his next single, and then they wanted it for her record, and I was like, listen, I'm not getting involved, I'm just a song, and that's when I step out, I'm like, I'm just a songwriter, put it down to use. And anyway, she ended up keeping it, and they were like, we're going to get this massive act, Blackpink on, stayed on it, and then yeah, that ended up being the first ever song performed at Coachella that's bilingual, because we do the English and then they sing. And but yeah, it's just, I say to everyone, you know, songwriting is just, I tell every artist, just make sure that you can write your own tunes, because you know, when I'm asleep, I'm making money, like, over the other side of the world. Like, you know, I'm doing songs in K-pop or whatever. I'm asleep, and they're spinning it around the world. And I done a song with Jonas Blue on YouTube. I think it's on 60 million now. And it's because
Let me tell you this now.
But it's just
songwriting,
in the world.
Songwriting,
like,
songwriters have, let me tell you something. Songwriters have a glorious life. And I'll tell you why I say that, I worked with a lady called Jackie Davison, who I actually need to call, but like, she's a great woman, and she manages a man called Wayne Hector, Let me tell you, Wayne Hector has written some of the biggest songs in life. Like,
Flying with
bro, like songs for artists that like, it's put them in such a place in life that they can't walk down the street. But you know what he can? He wrote the song.
That's the dream, isn't it? That's the dream.
He can go Oxford Street, He can go Oxford Street, do his thing. And no one's harassing him. No one don't know nothing. But obviously, I mean, I guess it just depends on what you look for. but like he's written some of the biggest
But he's
songs
so
in life.
respected. Like, shout out to Wayne, because me and him do FIFA sessions like no other. Yeah. Like, talking about Copenhagen in Denmark. We done a week.
Do the Googles.
He come out for the week, and we wrote, like, for my record. And I bought a PlayStation and a TV just for, like, that week. Because when me and Wayne write, he, like, goes... And I'm like, Wayne, we've got to finish the song. He's like, one more game. But mate, that guy, he's so respected by everyone. He's so rich. But he's the nicest guy ever. And like you said, like he can do what he wants. He says, why do you want to be an artist? Like, you can still get the tube now. Like, he's like, I can still get the tube, but everyone loves him and he's respected. And actually the artists crumble around him. Like, you speak to like a 10-year-old or whatever, and they're like, oh my god, like blah blah, Nicki Minaj or whatever it's gonna be, because he wrote Starships, was it, or something? Anyway, and then but imagine, like, when you're in a studio, the artist needs the songwriter, because without the songs, what are you? You just... do you know what I mean? So he's more respected, like...
And you want that as well, don't you?
Yeah.
There is that you want. Like, I mean, you could look at the finances and all these other things, but when you get the respect from your peers, that feels different. It hits different.
Yeah, he's next level in me.
Undeniable. But I love also the way that you've kind of been able to sort of, you know, dabble in both worlds, in a sense, with doing that, but also, you know, doing a personality-based stuff, you know. Talk a little bit on that, like, what sort of drive you back into, you know, presenting?
Well, it was just football, really. So I stopped playing, obviously, like I said, wasn't getting paid, no money. Do that, got a publishing deal, 22, 23, I was living in London then. And, you know, I just missed having something else than music. It was very... me mind, I just felt if I didn't get a cut I wanted and the artist didn't take it, I was having a down day. Or if I got back from the studio and I was like, I hate that song I just wrote, it was shit, I was down. I didn't have anything else apart from music, so I was like, I'm just going to go back and play. And then I ended up playing for Spurs. I got a trial there, and then I was like, okay, maybe I'll drop down. I actually moved to Fulham, then played at Fulham, and they were like 2 leagues below WSL, and I was like, okay, this is good, I still play, I can still make music. We only train twice a week, perfect. And I was still playing. And then the BBC, I was doing music, I think, at the same time. I think I just released a video, and then they were really into... That's always the first thing people would say, oh, you're a musician. So I'm like, and a footballer. And I thought, okay, there's not that many that can have that name. So I used that, like you were talking about, your USP, your personality. That was my thing, actually. There's not really a musician who can do 3 of those things, or a footballer who can do that. So I just started getting more and more jobs, because like sports people, the link, what we said, sport and music, that started, you'd see athletes hanging around with musicians, or musicians, and then I just started getting work from that, my own shows, my own ear. But my first proper job was in the Women's World Cup last year, about a year ago this time, and I remember that's when I started thinking, am I selling out? Because my accent, they never really had a Scouser before, like presenting on the BBC, like freehand. And I remember the cameraman, my first day, because I was like, don't give me this job if you want me to be like a Gabby Logan. That's not me. They were like, no, you're going to be out with the fans. You get to live in France for a month, paid for hotels, paid for your travel. I was like, sweet, all right. And then my first off, I was like, hello, everyone. Welcome to Paris. The World Cup starts today. And he went, oh, can you do it? Hello, welcome to Paris. The world starts today. Like that voice. And I was like, I just looked at him and I went, nah. And I was like, nah. And he was like, oh, okay, but it's, you know, we've got to send this back. And listen, if he's watching this, no bad feelings. I'm just saying I stood up for what I believed in. He was trying to do his job. Obviously, that's what he's being told a lot of the time. Speak like this. But I was like, no, you've got me on because you want something different. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, if you want to do that, you might as well have just got fucking...
You employed me, so let me, like, of course, like, guide me.
Yeah,
because I'm inexperienced. 100%. I'm good with that. But don't change me.
No. Yeah, just that's like, you know, that's my voice, that's my personality. That's like, you know, you start wanting to shave my hair off or something. I don't know, it's part of, that's the way I'm speaking. So, yeah, that was just the first time. My first time I had to just stand my ground, you know, and it was scary. I was on my own in the middle of France, two cameramen, and, you know, a lot of people there in a position might have just went, okay, yeah, like. Yeah.
But so was that before or after the Champions League final when I met you in Madrid that time?
That was before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a weird one, but I just, from then, I enjoy it. It's another way of telling stories, you know, whether it's radio or a podcast to do, or, you know, I enjoy telling stories, whether that's through music or anything. I think that's what I am.
I really love how you, like, are so I don't know what the word is like. You don't rest on any laurel. Like you just, if there's something that you want to do, and you feel a certain way towards it, you will actually just do it. Whereas some people might be like, you know what, I'm writing some songs and that, I'm just doing my thing. I got some off days. I'm just gonna just chill and just do nothing. You're like, you know what? Nah, let me just go back and play football. I want to do that. I got some off days. I could do that. In fact, I don't have off days, but I'm gonna try and make it work anyway. And then, oh, what? I can do this as well. You know what? Yeah, I could do that, and I'm gonna do that. And I love that. Do you get what I'm saying? You got the energy to do it, and you're good enough. So why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I think why not? If your heart's in the right place and you're doing it for the right reason, and you know, I'm not gonna do anything that I think's like detrimental to what I stand for and stuff. But I remember I was on Soccer AM, I think, and I was talking about music and I was playing, and then I beat Waynbridge in like the crossbar challenge or whatever, and I got a lovely message, and it's something that will always stick with me. And they said, it was a mum, and she said, my daughter loves music and loves football, and everyone's always said pick one, and today you've proved that you can do it all. Wow. And I was like, I like that.
I respect that, because I feel like even in this country, it's like they try and put you into boxes.
Yeah.
So if you do this, you have to do this. You're a presenter, okay, you have to be a presenter. You're an actor, okay, you have to do this. You can't be a hybrid of different things. And I feel like you're breaking down those stereotypes and those boxes. I think we need that.
It might sometimes, though. I do wonder, is that taken away from, like, you know, personally on my own records that are released and stuff? I do that just because, you know, it's part and we're building that separately. But I remember the record label sat me down and was like, you can't play football or you can't do this anymore because you're taking too much attention away from your music. Like, people don't know, are you a footballer? Are you an artist? Are you a songwriter? Just do one thing. And I remember sitting there and I was like, but if I would have just rested on that alone, I probably might have had to get another job by now.
Exactly.
So I think my goal is just happiness, like complete happiness. Like, can't love me job, love me partner, whoever I end up with, and I'm just happy. You know, wake up, if it's raining, that's all right, because I'm loving my life and just everything's at peace, and not
basically where Wayne Hector is.
Yeah, exactly. But just loving what you do, though. Like, love it. But and also, like, sometimes you get the moments where, like, you can get really annoyed with your industry or your field or whatever, but still, like, loving what you do, for me anyway, is mad key. What inspires you, bro?
I think what inspires me is just like this need to know that I'm trying to fulfill my own potential, knowing that I have some sort of potential there, and that I want to tap into that potential and not live with regrets. Because I think a lot of people, they have potential in whatever it could be, career-wise, it could be a talent, it could be even, I don't know, like them as an entrepreneur or whatever. But I think some of the saddest stories, and maybe it's not everyone's path or journey, but just seeing someone with such great potential and they never fulfill it. So you might have been around someone in the ends who was a sick baller, and you just never had maybe that discipline or whatever it took to get to where they are. And I just want to be someone that kind of make sure I realize my potential. Like, if I can take it to where I need to take it, let me try and put all in I can to maximize that and get something out of it and not live with regrets. And I think that's where I draw that inspiration from, knowing that, okay, you've got something here, you've got some sort of talent, or there's this drive. Because I look around me and some of my friends always highlight to me, like, even if I'm not the most talented individual in the room, or if I'm not, I don't know, the biggest personality or something, for me, I always know that I've had a drive. And not everyone has drive. Like, but they've got all the talent, or they've got all of something else. But drive is just something I think inherently some people just have in them.
And believing in yourself.
It's just self-belief and self-confidence. So I think what inspires me is that, like, and also just on a more superficial level, just not wanting to go backwards, man.
Oh yeah,
I don't want to go back to my mum's house. I don't want to go back to the hood. I've worked very hard to get out of there. It's been a journey, and I think, like,
that, I use that as inspiration.
Yeah, like, just knowing, like, all right, okay, think life's bigger than, you know, eating a certain way or driving a certain car. We know it's bigger than that. Do you know what I mean? It's about your relationships, those deep bonds you have with individuals, and just your mental health. But to an extent, when you start to experience a certain way of living, you know, that Mercedes seat feels nice. It drives different to maybe a Ford. Do you know what I mean? No shade on anyone that has a Ford. Like, but it just what it is. Or just eating that food tastes a bit better. Or just going on.
Or the clothes you wear.
Yeah, like I dreamed of going. Like, I just got back from Santorini. I dreamed of going to places like that. Like, I never thought I'd go somewhere like Santorini. I always knew I was gonna go to LA or whatever, because that's whatever. But certain beautiful places I never thought I'd go. And I look at it and I'm like, I want to keep doing this. My guy, come on.
I appreciate you both.
Thank you
like
so
seriously,
much.
that was
I
really
love for
good.
having
Good to get some insight from you both, and all the best with the future endeavors and that. Yeah.
See what happens, man.
Yeah. JD in a duffel bag. Podcast up front. You already know, man. Like, yeah.